Hari ni kita nak pergi jumpa
Dr. Nisa.
Let's go.
Yes.
Kita pick up dulu Dr.
I think
Nisa.
Dr. Nisa dah sampai dah ni.
Oh, yeah, she's there.
Yeah,
Okay, let's go.
Masuk.
Thank you. Hai, Assalamualaikum Dr. Nisa. How are you?
How are you? Sihat?
Alhamdulillah, sihat. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much because luangkan masa as a child specialist.
Despite your hectic schedule, you manage untuk datang hari ni. InsyaAllah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think a lot of Nuha Beauty punya audience look forward for Dr. Nisa.
Betul.
Dr. Nisa,
Alhamdulillah.
we are
Thank
having
you.
her in Grab Nuha today yang
Yes.
seorang pediatrician.
With 15 years experience.
That's
Yeah,
not,
more or less.
that's a lot.
Betul.
So, we'll ask a few questions and have a chit chat with Doctor today. So Doctor, I think it's quite one controversial question. Baru masuk dah controversial.
Bahaya.
Lately, we've been hearing some news dekat Malaysia di mana berlaku ada child grooming,
Child grooming.
amang seksual di kalangan
Yeah.
kanak-kanak lah.
Right.
So I think talking about children, macam mana kalau kita sebagai orang sekeliling, I think can be family, parents or even orang sekeliling je macam kawan-kawan ke, macam mana kita nak identify, nak tahu ada ke tanda-tanda yang seseorang tu might be a victim mangsa child grooming.
Alright. Okay. So, child grooming jarang sebenarnya I cakap pasal child grooming ni. So, when we talk about child grooming, it's actually sometimes ada yang tak fasih kan apa tu child grooming. Child grooming ni bila seseorang adult, yang seseorang dewasa, dia mengeksploitasi kanak-kanak tu. Dia normalizing what is behavior yang inappropriate behavior to the kids. Okay, maksudnya dia cuba manipulate things and attitude behavior seorang kanak-kanak tu untuk rasa sesuatu benda yang tak betul tu adalah normal. Okay. So biasanya child grooming ni dia berlaku terhadap daripada seseorang yang kita kenali. Okay. Jarang, maksudnya okay, daripada kecil kita akan ajar anak-anak kita untuk don't talk to stranger. Okay, kalau jangan terima apa-apa barang daripada stranger, don't even talk to them. So our kids have I think master that. So but they don't know in terms of someone yang dekat dengan mereka, especially family, cousins, cikgu, coach. Okay, someone even yang they see at school, yang selalu berada di kalangan mereka. So this thing memang sangat susah kita nak detect benda ni because of kebiasaan kita panggil perpetrator. Pemangsa ni kita panggil perpetrator. So yang menggroom kanak-kanak ni biasanya dekat dengan mereka. So sometimes kita tak boleh nak detect unless you maksudnya you memang nampak behavior mereka ni dah sangat-sangat lain. Let's say kalau seseorang kanak-kanak tu macam sangat yang dia very bubbly, sangat ceria, cheerful, and suddenly dia macam senyap je, dia macam nampak burung, depressed. So there must be something wrong. And then itu satu. Then you kena react lah to that. Kenapa? What happened? Ada anything ke? Especially friends or teachers, whoever yang dekat dengan mereka lah. So kena detect benda-benda yang very subtle ni. And then kanak-kanak ni biasanya dia akan start macam ada secret. Because this perpetrator akan start cakap macam okay, kita punya relationship ni rahsia. So jangan beritahu dekat your parents ke sometimes because it's a wrong thing kan, satu benda yang salah. So that's why this child groomer ni dia akan cakap dengan budak-budak tu don't tell anyone. So bila like parents kalau tanya dengan kanak-kanak ni, mereka akan kata oh it's nothing. Or maybe ayat mereka macam he or she tell me that I cannot reveal ke, I cannot bocorkan rahsia, something like that. Because kids shouldn't have any secrets with especially parents.
Yeah.
So kalau anyone tell them it's a secret, then you kena probe into lah kenapa, apa secretnya. Okay. And then that is in terms of secrecy. But then you kena tengok, okay, let's say contoh lah macam someone yang outside of the home kan, macam teachers ke, coach ke, even like abang angkat, kakak angkat.
Oh,
Right.
ada
So,
lagi
yes,
Kalau
yes,
betul
yes,
lah.
ada. So you have to see macam kita punya anak-anak akan pergaulan anak-anak tu macam mana, and then yang adult ni, the adult one ni macam kenapa mereka rapat sangat, like okay, let's say coach kan, so tiba-tiba kata anak kita ni sangat special, ada apa tu, potensi untuk lebih berjaya, so tiba-tiba nak buat extra class, extra training, so and then in appropriate time. So tu satu. So kenapa? So you have to ask all these questions. Jangan macam just percaya je all these people are being nice to your kids. And then like macam teacher's pet, kenapa this one particular cikgu ni sangat so into this student. Okay, like macam kawan-kawan you sendiri pun you kena tengok kenapa cikgu ni sangat so into this one student. Kenapa
Dia fokus on that
dia
particular
treatment,
student.
gaya dia treat kawan you ni macam lebih ke apa. Sometimes you takut macam nak tegur, orang kata you jealous ke, dengki ke, right? But at least you talk about it. Kalau kalau the way that yang orang yang ditegur tu brush it off ataupun maksudnya macam be very defensive, so there must be something wrong. So yeah, so be careful in terms of it lah. Apa lagi? Agama ni
Harus happen lah sebenarnya. It's
Yeah.
not obvious.
I mean
Because
especially adult, they shouldn't hang out with kids to have fun. It shouldn't be. Macam okay, like me, I love kids. That's why I become a pediatrician. But I don't hang out with them. Because I'm good, and I'm good with them because that's the reason. Because I need to treat them, I need to talk to them. Like sometimes ada yang ada masalah. Even kids nowadays banyak ada depression, ada anxiety. So I need to talk to them, and the way that talking to them too is a bit different. So we need to tackle macam mana, like ni different age, teenagers lain, the kids like early teens lain, how we are talking to them. So
meaning that the parents, even the friends kena sentiasa macam update ataupun tengok dia punya perkembangan setiap hari lah. Especially the parents kena tanya balik sekolah tu, how's your day, kawan dengan siapa, ada any strange things ke kan. So and they need to notice little things yang macam a bit different lah daripada kids kan.
Macam anak you macam cerita pasal okay, there's specific cikgu ke, coach ke, ataupun whoever at school yang macam you rasa macam pelik. Kenapa everyday they keep this one particular people yang comes out in the story. So you have to pay into that. So attached.
Pay attention to details lah, apa yang dia cakap tu lah. But it's so sad sebenarnya benda macam ni berlaku dekat tempat-tempat yang kita assume safe place.
Betul.
Kan, school yang supposedly tak berlaku lah kan. Macam doktor cakap tadi, because kita selalu cakap dekat anak-anak ni to be careful with strangers. So dia tak rasa lah nak careful dengan cikgu dia ke.
Betul.
So meaning that macam peranan ibu bapa tu sangat penting dalam perkembangan anak tu sendirilah.
Of course.
So what if macam sekarang ni kita tahu kan zaman orang tengah mak ayah banyak spend time dekat luar cari yelah nak afford the family semua tu. So what if kalau macam bapa sendiri, apa doktor punya perspektif lah, macam apa peranan seorang bapa dan juga figure seorang bapa tu for let's say macam berlaku pengabaian ataupun macam bapa punya figure tu macam tak wujud dalam keluarga. Adakah benda tu akan affect pada perkembangan anak? Macam mana?
Topik sensitif juga soalan ni.
Because you are very experienced, so you must know macam the factors, effects kan. So
Yeah.
kita nak belajar dari doktor lah.
Okay, so of course peranan bapa ni memang sangat-sangat penting. Okay, sangat penting because they are not just a financial provider. They should help in terms of, you know, emotional growth and development of the kids itself. So because anak-anak ni they are spongy tau. Otak mereka spongy. So mereka akan adapt and absorb whatever that they see. Okay, like monkey do, monkey does, right? So kita ni parents as a role model to them. So that's why peranan bapa tu especially is very important in terms of I think from the start to get the kids to have their gender identity. So macam let's say what I mean from gender identity is that anak-anak lelaki dia akan tahu macam mana how cara the father layan how they treat people or being a man, you know, sebagai seorang lelaki dewasa, their future, because they look into their father. And then sebagai anak perempuan, kalau dia tak dapat perhatian daripada bapa dia, maybe in the future they might, you know, find perhatian, seeking for attention outside yang inappropriate. So that's why peranan bapa ni sangat penting from the start itself. So not just, you know, as a, you know, financial provider lah, as I said just now. So you have to be there, and I mean maksud be there tu
not physically only.
Not just physically, but you know, connection. You have to connect with the kids itself. You tak boleh you kata be there tu maksudnya kalau dia nak apa-apa I give money, you know, you provide things, but it's not just whatever that you provide, but you being there and connect with them. The connection tu yang penting sebenarnya.
Because I came across ada beberapa jugalah dengan cerita yang macam masalah, it's not even dia macam faktor kepada masalah lain jugalah. Macam the dad figure tu dia kurang ataupun macam seolah-olah tak wujud dalam keluarga tu. Physically he's there, tapi macam when it comes to itulah benda emotionally nak connect dengan anak tu kurang.
Sebab lagi senang because for the father, maybe they think that they have to provide, so they are outside a lot. So when they come home, diorang nak macam, you know, rest, rehat, tak nak deal with all the nitty-gritty things, you know, petty things kat rumah, kadang-kadang anak bising ke. So for them nak rehat. So but you know, you have to look it at the other way. You want your rest time, but just spend at least, you know, 10 to 15 minutes a day to connect with your child. Meaning that you balik kerja, for me, you just be with your kids, no questions, no command, nothing. So you just like, you know, sometimes you can just tell your day, what happened in the office. You want to know sometimes you just want to know how your kids think. They will, you know, they will respond to you, because sometimes kita ni kalau dengan anak-anak macam nak suruh je, nak suruh buat ni. So you want anak-anak ni macam ikut apa kata you rasa you the authority, so apa yang you suruh anak kena ikut. No, it shouldn't be that way. So that's why I said the important part of the day tu, the way you connect with your child tu, is not by command, it's not by asking questions. Not really. So you just be there, you cerita, and hopefully they will respond back, and that's how they will you know, try to open out and story to you whatever happened at school or their day.
So key points dia adalah spend and connect. Spend time and also connect with the kids.
Right.
Tapi menarik doktor cakap kita tak perlu pun like directly macam interrogate kan buat apa semua, but it comes naturally lah. Kita as an adult pun kita cerita juga our daily life dekat dia, bukan
not only the kids lah. So it's a two ways.
Macam I mean kalau kita pun kalau let's say your spouse tanya you how's your day, I mean sometimes it's just like
my day is
like, you know,
same.
You know, you tak rasa benda, you rasa macam like, you know, you just answer the question, sometimes you malas nak cakap kan. Sama je, tak ada apa. Last, you know, it's just boring, and you will you won't ask, like the partner will not ask any more questions. So it's just good if you can blurt out things. Just tell. Sometimes you don't need any solution tau. Sometimes you ada problem kan. You don't need any solution. You just want to nak vent out je. Vent out je. So same with your kids. So you can actually vent out things to your kids. You know, you'll be surprised that they know a lot more than you. Nowadays kids are very exposed and mature. So you know, like, and even like dengan my patients kan, sometimes I do ask, like, you know, some general questions, not just about, you know, how are you too. It's like they come to see me in the clinic, of course lah they are not well, right? So I nak tanya how are you, pelik lah kan, unless kalau like, you know, well baby check, then of course lah I tanya, because dah lama, like maybe 1 month tak jumpa, 2-3 months tak jumpa, so I tanya lah how are you. But you know, the kids yang memang datang sebab sakit, then you tanya how's the experience of school. So I had tak pergi sekolah for maybe 3 days. So what happened, you know, what happened at home. I mean, as a pediatrician, I need to know the whole thing about the kids itself. Maksudnya the family, how the family are, siblings macam mana, are they stressed at home. So whatever stress that, you know, that they feel or they experience tu memang akan affect lah to their well-being, health semua. So
interesting. So I pun macam as a new parent kan, always wondering macam mana cabaran nak besarkan anak-anak, because dia punya needs tu macam doktor cakap, it's not about just
physical needs. Apa yang you kena
emotionally, mentally, especially kalau physical kita boleh nampak kan macam dia membesar, berat badan dia naik, and fit or not semua. Tapi kalau dari segi emotionally or mentally, macam mana kita nak tahu we are doing the best for our kids? Nak besarkan dia jadi seorang yang kuat, bukannya kuat physical only, tapi kuat emotionally. Dia resilient lah, that's the word lah, resilient. Macam mana?
Nowadays kan nak apa, lahirkan anak yang resilient tu,
it's very challenging.
Itulah sekarang ni, bila you know, comparing ramai sangat, you know, bila kita cakap dengan the work companies, they were saying that okay, generasi sekarang ni different from the old generation. So nowadays maybe kids are not mentally or emotionally strong, or you know, emotionally or mentally resilient because of their upbringing. Okay, so how do we want to, you know, tackle this and for our kids to be, you know, strong in terms of emotion and mental? There's no right or wrong answer for this question, but I would say that we have to let them make mistake. Don't be overprotective. Okay, let's say macam anak kita nak jalan kan, so the first step that they make, diorang akan jatuh. So takkan you tak nak bagi diorang jalan. You tak nak bagi dia jatuh, tapi tak nak bagi dia jalan. So you have to be protective, but you have to be smart as well. So you let your child be. They have to make mistake. So only with mistake that they know, they learn from it. So okay, let's say contoh so paling senang, let's say kalau anak you tertinggal barang. Okay, then some mom will tak apalah, dia tinggal barang, dia tinggal homework, so tak apa, then the mother will send. So you know, for them, the kids will feel okay, apa-apa I buat, of course, of course we have to let the child, our kids know that okay, kalau whatever that they did wrong, they have someone or you know, parents to come back to. Yes, but not this like simple things like tertinggal homework, tak buat homework, or you know, they have to know the consequences of their own mistake. So
accountable.
Accountable and be responsible for themselves. So let them, okay, kalau you tak buat homework, what happened? So teacher will get angry, so maybe you cannot go for lunch. You know,
kena rasa lah, kena rasa, kena marahi cikgu tu semua dia.
Sometimes parents ni let's say okay, me myself, I think I was brought up being like And then maybe I sendiri rasa I had like low self-esteem. So I cover it up being, you know, I do everything for my son. I rasa, you know, my self-esteem tu macam improve because, you know, I did good for my son. But actually, a part of it, I tahu, okay, I've been too overprotective. So, you cover the guilt. Sometimes like parents ni, dia buat things that subconsciously dia tak tahu apa sebenarnya betul ke tak betul. But you can always take a step back and see whether you're doing the right thing or not. So, don't kita tak nak, okay lah, kita tak nak anak kita kena bully kat sekolah ke, kena marah dengan cikgu ke. But
Also we want, of course we want the best
yeah,
for them,
we want the best for them. But yeah, they have to actually feel something so that they can be stronger. Itulah macam I cakap, you have to let go. You don't be overprotective. That's the, I think that's the best advice so far lah. Yeah.
Betul lah, especially macam small things kan. Kita naklah dia belajar juga from their own mistake kan.
Yeah, you have to know how to solve the problem. Tak boleh lah semua macam okay, mama je buat.
So dengan cara tu juga dia boleh jadi independent juga. Sebab sometimes macam kita nak provide the best, tapi at the same time kita tak nak spoil the kids.
Yes.
Sebab bila spoil tu dia tak ada the resilience kan. Tapi tu very tricky lah, macam kena sentiasa reflect kan.
Yeah, itulah. Sometimes some people will cakap, okay, you want anak you being independent, but you nak diorang ikut cakap you. So which one? So kalau okay, let's say sometimes it's difficult because bila your kids have their own mind, diorang nak benda yang sometimes you tak parallel dengan you punya thinking. So it's going to be very difficult. So you kena how do I say? It's good if you can do active listening. Active listening means bila someone bercakap dengan you ulang balik apa dia cakap. Let's say you ask me a question. Okay, contoh, kalau anak I tanya a girl, anak tanya, I want to change my hair colour to pink colour. So sometimes the mom ataupun ayah akan dia cakap no. So you have to be, you know, actively listening and tanya.
They ask 5 whys. Why?
Yeah, you just ask back. I heard that you want to change your hair to pink colour. So then they will, yeah, I think I want to change my hair colour to pink because everybody is doing it. So you have to know kenapa. So don't just stop at no. You have to know kenapa. Then maybe you can say, then you can create some conversation in that. So maybe they will say, then you reply back, so you want to be, so you nak jadi macam semua orang lain. You don't be like you yourself. You know, you create some conversation in that. So don't just say no. That's what active listening means. You repeat. Like sometimes it's also with your kids and with your partners as well, or
I think adults pun
yeah. You have to, you know, you repeat back the questions or whatever that you listen to. That's what active listening means. So you kena ulang balik and you know, kadang sometimes confirm apa you dengar ni betul ke tak. Then it makes them think back. Okay, kenapa? Why did I blurt out that question, or why did I blurt out that sentence? So the kids or whoever that you're talking to akan fikir balik lah, and you know, that's just creating conversation as well.
active listening.
Yep. That's another way to connect with your child as well.
And then contohlah ada scenario tadi kan, Dr. kata don't just simply say no instead buat active listening tu. And then at the end, kalau even if we disagree with them, kita kena bagi reason to rationalkan balik.
Rationalize
why,
kenapa.
Okay.
So sometimes memang nak rationalize because the kids ni diorang punya the brain is still developing kan, so tak mature. So that's why, you know, semua benda is new for them. So susah untuk kita rationalize lah. But I mean, you have to practice, and being a parent is a evolving journey juga. Bukan dia just macam
terus jadi perfect parent.
Yeah, you can't. Even I have my son now 11 years old, going to be 12 soon. So I'm still learning. Because like each phase is different. Masa dia baby is very easy. But you know, early teens is early teen phase, so sangat-sangat, you know, some tantrum phase, teenager phase. So that's you know, the different phase,
Transition.
different phase of life that you kena tackle. So it's an evolving journey lah, being a parent.
Just a reminder lah, as the semua parents kan, it's
Yeah.
okay to, as long as kita nak learn.
Yeah, it's okay to make mistake. Everybody makes
Yeah.
mistake. As long as you learn and you reflect from it, then that's fine.
Next, about satu condition kanak-kanak, speech delay. So, I've heard macam zaman sekarang ni, gadgets, technology and everything, screen time, semua contribute kepada makin ramai kanak-kanak yang ada speech delay. Sebenarnya apa faktor mereka ni speech delay? Betul ke sebab gadget tu pun sebab mereka cakap tapi tak ada orang layan ke? So as a specialist, apa kau menurut faktor speech delay?
Okay, speech delay ni, nowadays I think dah ramai parents yang aware in regards to, you know, their the importance of tengok diorang punya development and growth, right? So that's why it's about being awareness dah tinggi. So that's why I think it's not that dulu tak ada orang yang speech delay, sekarang ni baru ramai. No, it's just that sebab awareness yang tinggi tu, that's why now dah ramai yang orang get you know, seek treatment for speech delay. So speech delay ni banyak factor. It's not as easy as okay, you bagi gadget, anak you akan speech delay. No. You boleh compare ada parents yang bagi gadget, anak dia boleh cakap macam ni, you know, can even follow whatever that maybe they're watching some videos from some app ke apa, so they can just like, you know, copy. So it's a way of like, you know, speaking language is just like maybe comprehension ataupun kefahaman mereka tu lain daripada dia orang tak faham apa yang mereka cakapkan. So but they can speak. So it's not as simple as that. So banyak faktor yang menyebabkan speech delay ni. Sometimes for instance maybe satu, no social interaction. So dia tak di-expose. Sometimes maybe dekat rumah dia anak seorang dan you know, tak ada orang yang bercakap dengan dia. Both parents sangat busy and you know, bila balik rumah dan tak bercakap pun. That's one factor. And then satu factor mungkin masalah pendengaran. Okay, you have to, sometimes bila ada patient yang datang jumpa dengan I pasal speech delay, then first thing, biasanya first step kita akan buat hearing test dulu. So because we want to see whether sometimes you rasa anak you boleh dengar, I mean in terms of bila you panggil anak you boleh toleh. Sometimes kita punya conversation ni yang dia tak boleh dengar. That's why dia tak boleh catch the words. Because the decibel, conversation dia punya decibel tu sangat rendah. So that's why mungkin dia tak boleh dengar that part. So then kenapa dia ada masalah pendengaran, whether dia ada frequent ear infection ke. So that's why banyak benda yang kena tackle. Okay, selain masalah pendengaran, mungkin masalah kita panggil speech apraxia. Maksudnya dia ada some oral motor problem. Mungkin some tongue weakness ke, some muscle yang tak boleh make them form the words. So there's a lot of factor. And then not to forget that maybe some syndrome that they have, like mungkin macam contoh Down syndrome, mungkin dia punya perkembangan tu agak lambat. Dia orang boleh bercakap tapi mungkin lambat sikit dan they need more therapy ke. Okay, and another thing, kalau bercakap tentang speech delay, ramai parents akan go towards whether anak I ada autism ke tak.
Okay, but
Terus ke extreme
So but it's not as easy as that. So kalau you have to know the normal language development. So by 2 years mesti dia kena boleh bercakap 2 patah perkataan.
by 2 years, 2 patah
Yeah,
perkataan.
maksudnya by 1 year and a half, at least one word yang one meaningful word. Mama, papa, makan, susu, nak, and they should be pointing. So apa whatever that diorang perlu, diorang nak, diorang akan point. So this important part of development tu, I think parents memang kena ambil cakna lah. Tahu pasal apa tu perkembangan ni, so that they know okay when to seek help. So by 1.5 year tak boleh cakap even one word, then you have to seek help. By 2 years tak boleh form 2 word sentence, nak susu, nak makan, mama tu, mama ni. then you kena seek treatment lah. Kena start jumpa pakar. Sometimes you you don't know where to go, then just go to any clinic, any doctor, then minta opinion or minta referral. So you have to actively seek treatment. Tak ada orang macam sometimes they just waited macam pergi klinik kesihatan kan tengah macam like the usual vaccine punya check up, then nurse tu tak cakap pun anak saya. Dia kata biasalah tu lambat sikit. But if you trust your mak-mak ni dia ada gut feeling tau. So I always say to parents, to moms, trust your gut feeling. If you think something is not right, you actively seek help. Jangan percaya je kalau ada kata dah pergi KK, dah pergi klinik, nurse tu kata tunggu normal, nanti dia akan cakap. So just don't brush things off macam tu je lah. So actively seek help. Kalau klinik ni tak boleh, you go to other clinic.
I think the key is parents kena tahu juga milestone yang setiap fasa. Macam doktor cakap 1 hingga 1.5 tu at least 1 week. So it can be very early intervention and dia punya consultation dengan professional tu boleh seawal tu kalau dia tak achieve lah that milestone. Betul. So benda-benda ni semua dia tak ada dalam kita punya syllabus. Maksudnya kita tak belajar lah begitu. So parents should be cakna aware. Saya rasa macam kalau dalam kalau KKF dah ada kita
vaksin tu kan
kalau ada je dia statekan ada milestone kanak-kanak apa yang boleh buat by this age. So kita bukan macam sekadar selak je buku tu kan. So for every stage tu
daripada baca kat situ pun dah okay.
Sebenarnya kalau you tengok buku tu dia ada tau untuk parents standard. Sometimes I will feel very frustrated lah. Maksudnya macam bila tengok buku tu kosong je, tak ada pun parents yang macam sangat proaktif okay tanda apa kalau check up 3 bulan, kalau check up 6 bulan, apa yang anak you dah boleh buat. So you tanda. So kalau kalau you buat homework tu, that's like it's an easy job for the health professional to nampak dah ini tidak. So
will be helpful lah.
Sangat helpful. So that's why actually buku tu sangat bagus dah. Even semua menu, kalau you nak start solid pun menu dah siap bagi. You punya growth chart dah ada, just to make sure growth chart tu diisi. And then you punya perkembangan tu dah ada. Okay, 6 bulan apa dah boleh buat, 9 bulan dah boleh buat apa. So tanda-tanda je.
That's good.
And kita jangan harapkan itu tugas healthcare sahajalah. Jadi kat rumah pun kita yang kena tanda. Kita sebenarnya kita yang paling tahu milestone anak kita kan.
Kita yang paling dekat dengan anak kita. So that's why you kena tahu, you sendiri yang tahu anak you macam mana. So kita sebagai healthcare professional kita membantu untuk apa yang perlulah.
Macam kalau dia datang jumpa doktor akan ambil history lah. Tapi sebenarnya yang paling tahu details tu parents lah.
Mak-mak tu yang lebih tahu keadaan anak sendiri. Sebab you hari-hari dengan anak you kan.
So being in child specialist dah sampai 15 tahun kan. So what's your secret? Macam saya tengok doktor hari ni kulit nampak sangat fresh, sangat nampak macam very useful tau. Ada ke rahsia?
Okay. Alamak, soalan tu.
Yalah, what's your tips you nak share ke kan?
Itulah. So okay, ramai juga orang yang tanya sometimes orang kata betul ke doktor pakar ni nampak muda je kan. Dia cakap tak tahulah, maybe because I'm always with kids kan, selalu macam deal with them, so happy, cheerful. It could be one of the factor.
I see.
Okay, but I mean, of course, skincare is very important. So I use a range of skincare. Maksudnya I don't stick to just one brand. So I use because I know what my skin needs. You have to know your skin first. So whether you have oily skin, you have dehydrated skin, you have acne skin. So dulu kulit I sangat teruk. Maksudnya acne, teruk, because I don't have the knowledge. So knowledge is very important. So I rasa I envy dengan kids nowadays because the knowledge is just at the tip of the finger. You boleh Google je apa what do your skin need. For me, I had to go to medical school to know that you know the anatomy of skin, apa your skin perlukan, what is important, skin macam ni for nak treat macam mana, skin ni nak pakai apa. You know, so after I think dah I have suffered with like skin problem quite sometimes, and then baru I dapat okay, my skin actually needs something like this. Okay, like macam cleanser, what type of cleanser that I perlukan, moisturizer, and then sunscreen. And sunscreen ni pun I think kids nowadays are very fortunate because they know they have to use sunscreen from earlier. If I have known this, I think this is the regret lah. I tak tahu that we have to use sunscreen from earlier. So I started using sunscreen only during my college day. So yeah, then after that memang I tak pernah tinggal sunscreen. So yeah, and also serum, I use Nuha serum. Actually I've been using Nuha serum from a year ago. It was the Cera Glow. The first one yang bottle. I remember dia punya the glass, and then dia punya tutup tu yang macam kayu, like the wood apa tu pattern. So I started using that one. So and maybe I know, because I said I know what my skin needs. So some I don't use every day, but like one day maybe like niacinamide, one day salicylic acid, another day like you have to know what your skin needs. So but Nuha punya serum tu, those days tu I use like one of the week, like one day a week I will use, and then it continues lah.
So okay tak?
Yeah, I mean so far okay, but what happened dah tak ada dah.
Kita dah reformulate semua.
Okay, so and then now I like the Nuha punya moisturizer because this one because dia sangat clean. Why I say clean, because sometimes kan kalau I treat kids yang ada some skin infection problem, I will ask whatever skincare yang main moisturizer yang diorang buat, and sometimes the cream put in a tub, right? So the mothers will just masukkan tangan je untuk sapu. So it's not good because you introduce infection inside the tub. So I like Nuha punya moisturizer ni because you press and then you don't need to put your hand in and introduce infection into your bekas. So yeah, it's good moisturizer, and the texture very macam the gel texture, so very soft, and then it cater to my skin is actually oily and dehydrated, so yeah, so that's why sesuai dengan I punya skin. And then sunscreen lah, as I said, sunscreen is very important. I can't
never skip sunscreen.
Yeah, never. Yes. Tapi sekarang ni anak I dah teenagers kan, susahnya nak suruh pakai sunscreen. I don't know, maybe
lelaki
yeah, lelaki. Maybe sebab lelaki lah kot. Wahim macam peliknya pakai sunscreen kan, pakai krim kat muka.
So we have one last question. I'm being a new parent, baru sebulan setengah, baru nak masuk 2 bulan macam tu. So macam mana kalau anak tu senang sakit kan, because of dia punya immune semua. Adakah as a new parent ni kita kena memang jadi very overprotective? Macam okay, orang tak boleh sentuh, jangan cium, tak boleh jangan melawat lah. Ataupun
avoid the crowd lah maksudnya.
Kena macam tu, ataupun sebenarnya kita kena increase awareness dekat masyarakat. Maksudnya boleh je nak jumpa, but make sure you basuh tangan, pakai face mask mungkin kalau you ada sesama tu apa.
Okay. Alright, so kanak-kanak ni dia especially because diorang punya antibody immune system belum develop fully lagi. So of course especially the first 6 months. So the first 6 months tu memang kalau yang breastfeed dia akan bergantung pada antibody from mothers lah. Okay, then after that they will slowly develop their immune system. Sebab immune system yang tak matang ni, that's why mereka ni senang dapat infection. And also faktor-faktor yang senang dapat infection tu sekeliling lah. Especially yang dijaga dekat, maksudnya childcare center, taska, ramai budak-budak. So bila tempat ada ramai budak ni, of course dia akan senang expose to banyak viruses, bakteria semua tu. So but yes, we as a parent we have to be protective, but not overly protective, because as I said, they have to make mistake. So maksudnya they have to be exposed to all these viruses, so to build their immune system more. So maksudnya but not to the fact that you biar je anak you sakit. No, maksudnya you have to let them get sick tapi you biar je. No, it's not like that. So you boleh keluar, you boleh socialize, you boleh hantar anak you taska, but you have to know when to seek help. Maksudnya okay, anak you demam, sesama batuk sikit, so kalau dah you kena terus pergi klinik or jumpa doktor and seek help kenapa and what happened. Maybe buat swab, some virus yang treatable. Maksudnya like say influenza, and then the importance of vaccine. So you vaccine untuk you prevent all this infection. So that's why you are being the part yang protective lah, overprotective, overprotective, or what you want to call it. But yes, that's how you help your kids, your baby. So bagi vaksin and seek help when they need to. Bila sakit, get help. Don't just stay at home sampai dah sakit seminggu baru rasanya okay kot, tak ada apa kot. Macam tu. Jangan rasa you boleh handle everything. So seek help. So yeah, and then mencegah sebelum melarat lah kot, sebelum kena. Maksudnya daripada rawatan tu cegah lagi baik. Cegah tu means vaccinated. Don't forget your all the vaccines, ikut jadual dia. And then kalau you are in a macam crowded place, it's best to wear mask. And then kalau let's say you nak buat family gathering, whoever yang tak sihat, better ask them to wear mask themselves. So mencegah. Maksudnya kita tak nak penyakit ni merebak ke orang lain. So not just your baby je, but some older people pun are prone to get all this infection. And mencegah tu lah. Macam kita pakai payung masa dalam hujan kan. So it's not just because air hujan tu bahaya ke tak, but we don't want to be, kita tak nak basah, kita tak nak jatuh ke slippery. That's one simple analogy that I can give. So tak apa, bagi anak you expose, as long as you do the right thing, vaccine at the right time. And then kalau ada yang tak sihat ke, family member yang tak sihat, you wear mask and maybe separate with them. Macam like say you kat rumah, then maybe the father balik rumah tiba-tiba rasa macam sore throat ke, tak sihat sikit, so maybe separate dulu. Don't just macam you terus je take care of your baby. Tak boleh lah.
So kena tahulah bila nak seek help. Betul.
Itu penting.
I think we learn a lot lah hari ni.
Macam-macam yang dapat.
We are very privileged. Honoured juga dapat jumpa Dr. Nisa in person. Bukan senang kita nak buat appointment kan dengan child specialist. Betul.
I think maybe kita boleh shout out juga to all of our followers. Kalau you guys nak seek for child specialist punya consultation, you can always contact Dr. Nisa.
Dengan Dr. Nisa.
Go to the clinic actually.
You can.
Nanti kita akan tag.
You can actually go to my website as well. So nak buat appointment pun go through my website pun boleh. And then I'm working in Park City Medical Center. So boleh jumpa kat sana lah. Siapa-siapa yang nak seek consultation.
Dr. Nisa is a very sweet specialist. So happy sangat dapat timbul ilmu lah sebenarnya daripada doktor yang I think I have to absorb it and practicekan jugalah to my baby, and soon dia akan membesar dan terus semua kan.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for using Nuha Beauty.
Yeah.
Tak sangka daripada setahun lepas.
I like
Yeah,
so baru
I
try.
did.
Orang punya she already use kita punya first serum dulu. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much Doktor for
Welcome.
today.
InsyaAllah kita mungkin after this kita ada lagi sesi dengan doktor ke we can invite
Boleh.
you with us insyaAllah. So thank you semua. Bye.